Okay. Good morning. This is the September 2nd, 2020 Town Government Study Committee meeting. As a preliminary matter, this is John Brescher, the chair of the Town Government Study Committee. Please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Tucker Holland.
Tucker, you're on mute. You're on mute.
Here.
Thank you, Tucker. Rick Atherton.
Here.
Linda Williams.
Here.
Curtis Barnes. All right, well, Curtis is here, but perhaps not.
He's not on mute.
So this open meeting of the Town Government Study Committee is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, we've been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings, and as such, the Governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed to and encouraged to participate remotely. The order, which you can find posted with the agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded to the so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Town Government Study Committee is convening via video conference Zoom app as posted on the town's website. For Zoom meetings, please note that this meeting is being recorded and that all attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer or anything that you broadcast may be captured by the meeting. Meeting materials, all supporting materials that have been provided to members of this body are available on the town's website unless otherwise noted. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless I know otherwise. Ground rules, we're now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meetingness. The chair will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, we'll go down the line of members, invite each name by name to provide any comment, questions, or motions. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone when you're not speaking and to unmute when you are speaking, and please remember to speak clearly in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. For any response, please wait until the chair yields the floor to you and state your name before speaking. Members wish to engage in conversation with other members, please do so through the chair. And identify yourself for members of public comment. After members have spoken, the chair will afford public comment to those members of the public who have joined via Zoom. Members of the public who wish to speak must state their names, be acknowledged and speak through the chair. And finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. Fantastic. Okay, so first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda as written. May I please have a motion to approve the agenda as written?
Second.
Motion was made. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Let's go through a roll call vote. Tucker Holland.
Aye.
Rick Atherton.
Aye.
Curtis Barnes.
Aye. Can you hear me?
Yes, right on, Curtis. Linda Williams.
Aye.
Aye. John Brescher, the chair, vote aye as well. All right, next item. Oh, yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Just to understand, I guess Linda and Curtis are not on video on my screen. Is that true for everybody?
That's correct.
I never join with
Cool.
video. I can't stand it.
Gee, we can't wait to look at you. God.
Okay, I'm
That way I
in
can
now.
send my
There you
sweatpants
are.
and my t-shirt.
There you
I
go.
got you. That's okay.
Okay, you
I'm
got
kidding.
me now?
We got you.
Yeah.
Life is good.
Okay. I hate this. I hate it.
Join the club. All right, next item on the agenda is a public comment, seeing as there are yet again no members of the public. I don't think there is any public comment. I have approval of the minutes of July 8th, 2020 and August 12th, 2020. I don't know if July 8th was circulated. I think Campbell and Rick were going to work on that, but if not, that could be just a confusion on my part. Nonetheless, August 12th, I sent those minutes along. Did anybody have any comments, questions, etc.?
No.
If not, may I
Move
please have a
approval.
motion to approve the
Second.
Oh, yes.
Just in my own mind, I wanted to go to the discussion and for example, I'm just reading something to make sure we understand what we're doing here.
Yep.
The idea of an ongoing work group was suggested.
Yeah.
may be best suited to review. And, you know, I'll get to this a little later with the report, but
Yeah.
suggestions are, you know, almost to me like just that, for discussion, and we haven't sort of carried through. It's picked up again later on with when Tucker suggested. And I would just suggest at some point when we get to the report, we talk about what that means versus a committee recommendation or something. I don't mean to be picky, but
No, it's a good
we'll
point.
get to, I think that's what we said during the meeting, so I'm not
Okay.
concerned about the minutes, John. Okay.
Okay. So I guess the point is we can either revise the minutes or accept them, and we can deal with this in the meat of the memo. I'm happy to revise the minutes to reflect otherwise.
No, I think the minutes reflect what happened, so that's okay with me.
Okay. So in that case, can I get a motion to approve the minutes as drafted?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second,
Okay. Thank you. We'll do a roll call vote. Tucker Holland?
Where'd he go?
Oh, Jesus.
where'd he go?
This really is for the birds. All right, let's try this again. Curtis Barnes,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Rick Atherton.
Aye.
Awesome. Tucker Holland? All right, I think we've lost Tucker. And the chair votes aye. Okay. So let's get into the meat of the discussion today of the memo to the update to the select board.
John, how are we
John,
going,
yeah, go ahead, Curtis.
how are we going to transmit this report to the board? Are we just going to send it to them, or are you going to go and report, or what?
Well, Curtis, it's a great question. Had you asked me six months ago, I'd say I would go in front of the select board and do this, but I don't know what protocol is these days, and I'm happy to do one of these things, you know, as a sort of a Zoom meeting and say, here's our report. Please feel free to ask me any questions. I will say, I reached, right after our meeting a couple weeks ago, I reached out to Libby and Lauren Goldberg and say, hey guys, we're still looking for X, Y, and Z. We're looking for comments. Please, we need some help. Nothing. Heard nothing back. So I don't, again, my assumption is that I'm going to be on a Zoom presentation with the select board.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm having challenges getting sort of the response that I'm looking for. So I'm happy to do so, but my fear is that I may just be sending this to them saying, all right, guys, here it is. I'd much rather do it via Zoom so we can have a back and forth, but I don't know what that's like.
You have to do it that way or in person eventually. And if management's not responding, then go to the chair or vice chair and tell them you're trying to get going, and you need their advice on how to do that. Let's stop pussyfooting around and get them to respond to us.
Okay. I mean, so that's the plan. The plan is to do one of these with them, hopefully in September.
John,
Yes,
do you
Rick.
mind if I ask a question, John? Can you hear me?
Please.
I think
You just
dropped off.
We lost you, Tucker. You weren't there for a while.
Back now.
Yeah, I got cut off for a moment.
And Rick, you're back too.
It's probably my end, I don't know. But I wanted to ask you to communicate with Libby. Was that by email or a phone message?
Email. I've always found that I've had short of stopping by, which I don't think I can do anymore.
No.
I found that email is the most effective way.
I think it's helpful to understand when you don't get a response that we all know how the how it was communicated. And I agree with Curtis, incidentally.
Yeah.
I think you should send an email to Dawn.
Okay. We lost Rick again.
Rattle the cage.
Yay.
Okay. Hey, that works. So I will gladly reach out to them. I mean, at this point, my assumption is we're not going to hear from Lauren. Like, I just don't think that's going to happen.
Well, can we get to that? I'll have a discussion with Dawn about that.
Please.
Because this has been going on for over a year.
I was going to say, that's probably about right.
To do that. And this is getting ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
no sound from John. He's frozen.
Oh.
Who's frozen?
John's frozen on my computer.
Curtis, same with me. I can't hear.
Oh,
I can see you, John. Now I can hear you.
yeah. I don't know if it's me or if it's
Yeah.
Zoom or
I
whatever.
can, you're
It can be
fine.
unstable.
Curtis is frozen.
Yes, I don't think it's any one of us because it's happening to all of us.
Yeah. It may just be Zoom. I mean, it's who
Yeah,
knows?
so Tucker's frozen now.
Awesome.
There he
This
is,
is
back in-
This is like the least efficient way to do anything. It's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So, all right.
So what are we doing?
So what are we doing? I mean, it sounds like I'm going to be emailing Dawn and perhaps Libby and Lauren again, or at least Libby and Erica, and then Dawn, and say, hey, we're trying to get on the agenda to give you an update from the Town Government Study Committee. And we need some sort of satisfaction. And I guess in order to do so, we need to, quote, finalize the memo, which we should do today, or at least, or if we don't want to, try to sort of make the sausage by revising it all via Zoom, which is looking to be somewhat challenging or cumbersome. We can
Comment? May I make a comment?
divvy it up. Yes, please, Curtis, make a comment.
Why can't we go find a great big room like a gym and sit 25 feet apart and talk for one time? Seriously.
I don't know.
Well, I would if you could.
I don't know. I don't.
I'll give you St. Paul's Church conference
There
room.
it is. There we go.
We may need a little help there anyway.
At this point, we need all the help we can get. All right. So at this point, I've got sort of those marching orders in terms of finalizing the memo. It's really getting on an agenda. Again, I'm sort of leaving Lauren to the side because even in the best of times, I would be surprised if we're going to A, get substantive comments, and B, have time to digest, review, and comment on the substantive comments before our anticipated meeting with the select board.
I'll
So-
talk to Dawn about getting
Please.
a response because this has been going on for a year and a half.
Yep.
Enough is enough.
Please.
You know,
And
and our hands are tied with any kind of changes we have to make on a technical issue at the
I
moment.
know, and the frustrating part for me is that she was so good when she was on the phone with us in that meeting with Clifford and Teresa and Michael Pearson and Andy Lowell. I mean, she was when we get her, she has been
Terrific.
incredibly valuable.
Yes.
I find, and
But we
it's
need
just
to get
frustrating
ahead,
trying to get her. That's all.
Yeah. and that's
I'm
getting
just-
very frustrating.
Yeah, I'm just venting at this point. So, all right. So that being said, in terms of today, it's really a review and sort of finalization of the memo, and we can go at it from sort of the technical standpoint. of what we have for an update, as well as sort of the substantive standpoint. And we can either go through sort of section by section, or if we want, because I know it's always challenging to try to revise things jointly, we can just divvy it up and come back and try to do this via comments online or through email, and then circulate a final one for everybody to effectively vote on remotely.
Well, that's kind of redundant. Why don't we just go down the thing like we did the last, and then, because we all have it. I have it up on my screen.
Fine with me. All right.
Does everybody else have it up on their screen?
I have it in hard copy.
Great.
I've got it.
All right. So let's start cranking out item 1 through the basic form of government. I was going to, as sort of tech savvy as I am, I'm not that tech savvy, and I cannot figure out a way to insert the forms of government from a PDF into a Word document in any feasible way. And so I was just going to include it as an attachment. If anybody else,
Say, put it as an addendum. That's the only way to do it.
I got it.
that worked
I
for
just
everyone.
had
Yep. Yes, Rick.
John, I didn't hear that. I
Sure.
was blanked out for a minute.
Sure.
What was the comment?
The comment was that despite my technical prowess or lack thereof, I cannot seem to figure out how to insert the 4 forms of government from a PDF into a MS Word document. And so I was simply going to attach them as an addendum, reference them in that paragraph,
Yes,
just
yes,
attach as an addendum.
That's
I think you
better
should send
anyway.
those-
Otherwise, yeah, because otherwise you put too much text in the report. Just make an addendum.
Fine, great.
That's-
Okay.
I would ask that you send the PDFs around to each of us so we see what they're going to look like.
So I think I did on that last email.
I
And
got it.
I got it.
It was just the one from last time, basically. Last time, I mean, what we handed out at town meeting.
I got it.
I have your memo of September 2nd.
No,
Yeah,
I
I
have
have
the
the-
color version.
But what I don't have is the results of the straw poll.
I don't have that. I don't know that I have that handy either, and I wasn't sure if it was going. Now wait. Oh, to be clear, are we talking about the straw poll from our public hearings or the non-binding ballot questions?
Well, the non-binding ballot question is just blank. It is what it is.
Right.
And the votes.
Yeah, so I had forwarded the certified result from the town clerk on the ballot questions. And then I think we also forwarded photos of the boards that we had used during the forum that indicate the answer. So perhaps we can just use, insert pictures of those or what have
Okay.
you.
Well, I got that.
I
from
think
you,
we-
Tucker. I got all that.
Okay. I'll
Did
dig
you
through my
get-
emails. I assume I have it, but who knows?
I see those
I-
sent around previously.
I can resend them, John, if you need me to. Yeah.
That would be great, actually.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
after the meeting, just send them to me, and then
No
we can
problem.
clutter everyone's inbox if they don't need it. Okay. So we'll.
All right, so on this,
Yes, go for it, Rick.
John, let me just ask a question. So if I was on,
We lost all audio, Rick.
All right, I'm over Zoom.
yeah. But what I wanted to let John know is someone on the board will ask, okay, you've identified problems or concerns, and someone might say, okay, what are they? And I guess you mean the list on the top of the next page, but those seem to be not so much concerns to me, but maybe that's what you're referring to.
It's a good question. don't want to make this any more difficult. And I apologize if I'm misspeaking, but I'm not, the concerns that were at least mentioned on the ad hoc poll, were those written down? Were the actual concerns written down anywhere, or was it just people had concerns with town government? I apologize for not recalling, but
Are we talking about the sheets that were in the back of the
yeah,
room?
I think that's what Rick's talking about, right?
I thought Tucker took those.
Yeah, I've got those. There were just a couple of post-it type notes, but I think Rick was talking about something different. I mean, I was going to say, with regard to this section, it feels like it's missing a punchline. Like all of the other sections we have in here talk about this is what we recommend, or this is the next step, or this is what we suggest, or something already has taken place that addresses this. Like here, it just goes off a cliff. We say, yeah, we took these polls, we got this, we got these results. See you later. Like,
right.
What are we saying we're going to do with this information?
But we're not telling you anything other than that we looked at this and boy, this is something. But that's
boy, we looked at this.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like item number 1.
Well, I don't.
So I think
Yeah, go ahead.
we need a punchline.
We need a punchline. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean,
Well, first off, I think if we're going to have a punchline, I mean, one possibility, I'm not sure I'm suggesting this, is to say that the town meeting vote on additional work seemed to open up a window that I'm not sure quite who that was directed to, John, as our chair, since it's our language. Was
right.
It directed back to us, or to the select board, or the moderator? And so we could say, well, taking the result of that question, we think we want to punt to the select board to appoint a new committee, or we want to undertake that ourselves, or what? That's sort of, to me, the question.
Or something.
Okay.
Or something. Or let's come to some conclusion ourselves, which seem to be not getting on with. And the lack of a suggestion seems to me to be supportive of the status quo.
Are we at the point, though, of where we can make a suggestion that we go to representative? I mean, are we at that point of making concrete sayings for change the charter? Or without talking to Lauren, we're still waiting to see what other things
think that we can amend.
Linda, I tend to agree with your last comment. I don't think we're necessarily there, but we ought to say that here then. We think we need more time to talk to, and that's sort of the punchline Tucker was looking for.
Well, I think we need to have a specific, like, here's our course. I agree, but we're not at the point where we can recommend any particular outcome, if you will. But I think we ought to have a game plan of what we recommend happen next in order to address, in effect, what the results of the question have asked us to do, whether it's us or the select board or whomever. But
we could make this simply a status report as opposed to conclusion. I mean, this memo is sort of caught betwixt and between, because we don't have Lauren's information. We haven't really distilled which direction we think we should go, Parks and Rec being one of them. And maybe we're just getting too overblown in our response to the selectmen right now, given that we don't have Lauren. Is that making any sense to anybody? We're sort of in between.
It makes sense to me, and I think the problem that I'm struggling with is that even if we say, yes, we think that we're going to go to representative, or we think it's a good idea, or that we should study this further, I don't know what that next step is. I don't know. It's great to make a recommendation. It feels like the other, whatever else we have in this memo, we can at least give them, or the select board, they can sort of infer what the path they need to go down is, or what the order of operations and the steps that they'll need to take in order to sort of effectuate these changes. And that all makes sense. The struggle that I have is that this is the elephant in the room, and everybody knows it's sort of what we're looking at. And even if we say, yes, we need to change this, I don't know how on earth we do that. And again, I don't think it's the 5 of us, or 6 of us, or 7, or if we ever get a full committee to be doing that. I feel like this is something that is going to take a lot of grassroots outreach. It's going to take a lot of study to figure out how to draw up the districts. And it's not a real simple project, so to speak. And I'm reticent to sort of opine one way or the other than to say, frankly, I don't know what to do. And I'd love to chat with Lauren again about this, because she must know of other communities that have done something similar, and say, okay, well, we understand what the end result should be. How do you get there?
What's the mechanism?
Voice from the dead? No, I passed it.
Yes, Curtis.
I would think that at some point we just should put on the next ballot a question to the voters. Or do you want to stay with open town meeting, or would you support representative town meeting? And if that turned out to be representative, then you appoint a commission that establishes the procedures and the quantities and the boundaries and all the rest. Just let's say A or B. We're not going to go to town council or a mayor. So I would say vote on keep what you got or change to representative and see what happens. Radical.
I think before you do that, you better have a way to communicate to people and talk about what the issues are openly. You know.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's again, without sort of overthinking this, it always seems to come back to sort of a chicken or the egg discussion, because the only way to get people on board, in my opinion, to see how this is going to look, is to actually do the due diligence and say, all right, this is how we would draw it up, this is how it would work, and take all the steps to show what it would actually look like. But you sort of don't want to go down that path until you think that people are actually going to be receptive to it.
And appoint the commission first to do that study and make a presentation, and then put it on the ballot.
Well, education.
Yep.
Yeah, we can talk about that forever. Somebody's got to sit down, draw a map, and put numbers on it. Come on.
Yeah. And odds are, as silly as this sounds, those numbers may change between now and when the census comes in.
Right.
That's right.
Who knows what it's going to look like at the end of 2020.
Well, you can create a matrix anyway and fill in numbers.
So
and I volunteer to serve on that with 2 other people and do it. I'm tired of sitting around.
Great.
I have no bias in this, of course.
All right. So this is all really good discussion, and I think this is really germane to the topic. But I think we should get back to what do we say in the memo to the select board for the time being? I mean, should we just sort of punt and say we think that
Right.
We need access to town council. That's what we say.
Yes.
Yeah, Linda, I agree. The punchline is we're not there yet. We
We
need
need access.
an opportunity to talk to town council, and we'll proceed.
okay?
I tell them, we've been on this since Lauren told me last year at town meeting, she would get back to us very quickly. She came up to me at town meeting to tell me that.
No, March of 20 or April 2019. I know.
Yep.
I know. Okay. All right. So how about this as a sort of solution in the meantime? I will wordsmith something and send this paragraph, this section with the attached,
Right, yeah.
with the attachment for the forms of government, as well as I'll figure out a way to insert the chart or the pictures that Tucker sent of the chart, and I'll send it to everyone for review to make sure that we're good with it. But we'll plan on that's the general idea that'll go, or the general content that will go
And
in
then
terms
to every select person individually as well as management. Let's quit them, stop them from cutting us off.
Yeah. Okay.
Meanwhile, I'll talk to Dawn about the access to town council.
Thank you.
And we can have another meeting to finalize it. You can't do it by rolling meeting by, we can't go there. So we should have another meeting at some point, 48-hour notice is all you need.
I know, and that may be that we can do it pretty quickly if we send everything in advance and just, all right, everybody, yay, nay, last comments, etc. Okay, let's move on to the second section, local government and the code enforcement. Any comments, questions, concerns on that one?
Pull it up again.
Right.
Frankly, what we've just discussed is the most important part of this report. The rest of these are boilerplate, and you can do whatever you want, but we got to get going on item 1.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. I mean, like I said, it's the elephant in the room. It's certainly the sort of the sexiest topic.
Take the Band-Aid off.
Rip it away.
That would be Zoom.
Yes, please. Okay. All right. So nothing on to audit committee. The only other thing is, do you want me to include the text of the article or just the reference?
Next,
You can put the text on as an addendum.
Okay.
addendum. Any references have to be attached as addendums.
Yeah,
Okay,
anything
got it.
outside of this is going on as an attachment.
Okay. We can do that. I know Rick sent that to me. Thank you, Rick. Then we've got I removed code enforcement.
You got a pagination issue there between 3 and 4.
Yes, that's fine. HTC charter, we got that sort of fuzzy language, or just it's not really within our purview. I mean, I think that works.
Okay.
Okay.
It needs a complete rewrite. It's got a lot of problems. I've already rewritten it once.
Rick, Town Government Study Committee. Do you want to change the language from recommended to or from suggested to recommended?
Well, I just, after sort of thinking and looking at the minutes again, found that, we spent 3 years, and then we have a full section in here about asking the board to set up a committee, and I'm not sure we really ever discussed it in enough detail to be comfortable with what we're asking them to do or consider. Do you know what I mean? This came up over the course of 10 minutes on a Zoom meeting once in 3 years. And I just, I'm not quite sure what we want them to do.
I think it should be a standing committee, period, not bifurcate it.
Yep, agree.
That'd be.
That's what I wanted to talk about, Linda.
Huh?
That's why I wanted to talk about it. I mean, there's no indication to me that the board's interested in setting up another committee. They could do that anytime.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
And I'm just not
right.
No, that's okay.
The bifurcation is kind of ridiculous. Just have a standing committee.
Yeah, I mean, well, we could, but in effect, so our existing committee is in the charter. And if we want to change the charter, then we ought to talk about that. But I'm not sure having a standing committee, which sounds like a regular Board of Selectmen appointed committee, like they have lots of them. And what are we expected to do?
Well,
Whatever they think we need to do.
yeah, that's right. Tucker, please.
Well, yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with Rick. I mean, this is what I was trying to say last time, that, you know, I'm certainly not interested in recommending it myself. If it's something the board wants to have, you know, I would support it, but I think we ought to ask them. I don't want, I'm not sure what the need is. I think the original committee, the intent is you need to have the same group of people to the greatest extent possible. We've obviously lost and added some members along the way, but, you know, like, it's sort of a focused task, and I think generally supposed to be done within a limited window of time. I'm not sure about the ongoing nature of it adding a lot of value to the select board, but they can tell us otherwise.
Well, I think it's, my take on this is that I think that the government study committee is tasked with the charter. I think it really is looking at charter changes, et cetera. However, once we were established, or once we started talking to people, it seemed clear to me, or not clear, but at least it seemed to me that they were expecting other things, that they were looking for more of a, not just a charter review, but more of a, oh, how the internal workings of the government, does this work, does this not work, etc. And
Yes.
that I think was like sort of the impetus behind it. And frankly, I agree with all of you that I don't know that I necessarily want to recommend it, but it seems to me that this is, even if the select board or the town administration hasn't said so, it seems like this is something that they want, and they have the power to do this. They are entirely empowered to create this sort of standing committee, and I don't know that it needs to be us who recommends it, but it seems like it should be out there that they want somebody to look at the government.
Should we use the language, should the select board feel the need to establish such and such, you know, just sort of leave it in their hands as opposed to us suggesting?
Well, I mean, that's absolutely fine. I think it's interesting that, again, as Curtis mentioned a couple minutes ago, number one is the big issue on this, and it seems like a lot of these other topics we've been talking about aren't necessarily charter changes that are within sort of our strict purview. But it's that they, whether it be select board, town administration, other members of the community, have sort of anticipated that we're looking at, or this committee is looking at more things.
Yes, forms of government, et cetera,
Yeah.
et cetera. They're looking for us to sort of study that so they don't have to do it.
Right,
And then
right.
come back with a recommendation based on outreach, the votes, the this, the that, the other thing. And I think that's pretty clearly what they expect us to do.
Yeah. Rick, you had your hand up.
No, I mean, another way to handle this is in your introductory section, have a little paragraph that said, over time, many people came before the committee to express concerns about how certain functions of government were operating. And while we agree they need to be addressed, we think the best way to address them is through the select board tackling these matters as operational issues or something like that, if that's what we believe.
Right.
I don't necessarily want to go, I
But
don't necessarily want to throw our hands up in the air and not take any ownership of this. Because we're the ones that have gone over to Falmouth, and Curtis has done all of his research. And I think that's what they're relying on us to produce, is what direction we
Yes.
think we should be going. And then they can do whatever they want with it. But I think they're relying on us to give them a comprehensive report on the functioning, changes to the charter, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's what we need to do. I don't think we should just sort of back off and say, it's up to you guys. We don't care.
Linda, I didn't mean that for the whole thing. I was only talking about this item number 5.
Yeah, okay, so we're just concentrating there. I think it may well benefit that we can say it may well benefit the town to establish a standing committee to deal with these things and leave it at that.
Well, how about,
Oh, Rick, we just lost you. Zoom.
what the hell they're going to look at?
Oh, all right, Rick, we lost 95% of what you said.
Yeah.
we're not repeating it.
I'm just a general comment on the course of the meeting, because it's difficult with some of us moving in and out, and I don't, it's whether it's Zoom or the town or each individual computer, I don't know, but it's hard to do business that way. So
Get together in a room. I'll give you the room.
well, we could say that we could say these are complicated issues and they deserve a more thoughtful method of discussion when we're back to meeting in person and distancing in a room. I don't know.
That's a good point. And frankly, given the lack of public participation in these meetings, I mean,
not one
like we're
board.
having people bang on the door to come in.
Right. We haven't seen a member of the select board, and I'm not criticizing him for this, but for what, 2 years?
Yeah.
And so people's involvement is very odd to me, and it sort of leaves us to our own devices. And you look at the committee report from the last time there was a study review committee, it was quite extensive. It had lots of operational recommendations in it. So we're free to do that if we want to.
Right. Very true. Very true.
We have to get permission, no matter what we do. We have to get permission from town government to meet face to face, because none of the rest of the boards are meeting face to face.
Yeah.
And it's a
No,
real
I
pain in the
understand.
butt. And it's a real pain in the ass. I got to be honest.
It is.
It's just terrible.
All right. So getting back to this one.
Do you want to take it out for now?
We can. I mean, there's nothing to say that we can't.
No,
And
don't take out the reference. You got to keep the reference in there. We can't disappear.
No, but then we just say then the language is problematic. I don't take the word, get rid of the bifurcating crap out of there
Okay.
completely. But having it may be advantageous. We can just say it may be advantageous to the town to have a standing town government study committee to deal with anything that may arise in the
Yep,
future.
along
And leave
those
it at
lines.
that. And leave it at that.
Yep.
I hate to carry on, but I don't think it's a government study committee standing. I think we're recommending some kind of a support group, a committee or whatever, to help the board with operational concerns expressed by citizens. To me, that's what's happening.
I think you're right. It's almost I'm
Yeah, to go back to
cringing
Clifford
even
and
saying this,
Teresa.
but it's almost like a complaints committee.
That's like that's
Right.
back to Clifford and
I
Teresa.
know that's why I was cringing. But yeah, I mean that's
You have to be
the
careful
exact-
how
that's
we
the
phrase
case.
this.
There is somebody there.
You have to be very careful how we phrase this thing, that we don't tie it to them.
Right. Right.
But it would be a standing committee that would research
Be
or
available.
whatever.
Be available.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll try to wordsmith something very fuzzy.
Innocuous.
Yes, exactly. All right. So let's see. Moving on to licensing board or committey. Any comments, concerns on that one?
They need one.
Yeah.
John, I think we ought to think about adding something like the board deems appropriate, and say the board has the power, which we were told, to do it itself. We don't quite say it that way.
Okay.
Okay? Because I
Yep.
think that was the reason to kick it up to them. And, you know, you can do it right now, guys.
Yeah,
Exactly.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be listed in the charter.
Right.
The more you
Exactly.
list in the charter, the more things are excluded, so you don't want to go there.
Agreed. Okay. All right. So that gets us to licensing. Parking commission. I apologize. I tried looking to find the warrant article for this one, and I could not find it. If anybody,
It was called Parking District Commission.
And
John,
it was like within the last 3 years.
I thought it was 2019, but it was
Yep.
not. So I'll look at 2018.
John, I'll be happy to volunteer to find it for you.
Great.
And,
Thank you.
and I think
Thank you,
whatever
Rick.
we do, we'll find it. And we should add in here, it was approved.
Agreed. And we'll attach
Right.
we'll attach the
Yep.
attach the article as an addendum as well.
Yeah, it was approved,
can,
but they never appointed it.
All right, guys,
And
don't attach the article. Email the town clerk's office, John, and
Okay.
they will give you the page that says it was voted favorably. It's just a one-page thing. It
Okay.
has
John,
the article and then it has the
John,
results.
I have the sheet they put out after each meeting
Great.
with
Yeah.
all the vote results. I'll send it to you.
Fine.
Yeah, that's what I want you to attach, not just
Awesome.
simply the article.
Fine. Makes sense. All right. So that takes, we got sewer commission. That's the one we're sort of and trying to write the fuzzy language to punt and say, all right, that might be a good idea, but there are a lot of unintended consequences.
Typo on the first line,
Ah,
it's in the event rather than in the even.
In the even. All right. Fair enough.
Then you got a whole bunch of spaces after the 8.
Yep.
Before you get to 9.
Okay. Okay. So we'll work on the pagination, obviously. All right. Parks and Rec.
You have a different font.
I
I
do.
believe. So correct the font there.
All right. Everybody okay with the actual, Rick, go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, John, I thought the text was fine. My only sort of general concern is that the article at town meeting from Maria Zota, which I think is the one we're all referring to here, in some ways is, you know, shouldn't have to set the tone for correcting the text in the charter. It's just not necessarily the thing we should be waiting for if we want to tackle that issue. If that makes sense to you, you know.
Well, it's going to be in the charter because it's under the state act. And the issue here is that it was I hate that word defunded lately with Trump and everybody, but it was defunded, which means they had no jurisdiction over anything. They weren't consulted about anything. They didn't control who used the fields when. That was parsed out to somebody who screwed it up completely all the time. And there was no staff to maintain the bathhouses. The septic overflowed at Dionis because the DPW didn't know you had to freaking pump it out. I mean, it's just a complete mess at the moment. Everything was running beautifully when there was a staff, when there was accountability, when they maintained their facilities. And it all went away because Libby took it out of the budget. Otherwise, the Parks and Recreation Commission is established by state law and it's in the charter. But the question was, can the charter force the town to fund it? I don't think so. So I don't know how you want to get into this. Obviously, I'm a big proponent because I was a big proponent of getting it established 20 years ago in the first place, 30 years ago.
Yeah,
Whatever it was.
but Linda, the issue in the charter was whether the Park and Rec Commission can be appointed by, not in the charter. Our concern brought to us was that the board delegated to the town manager, and yet in the charter, it implies that the board must be responsible in appointing the Park and Rec Commission. It's listed that way. And I think that what we were talking about is clarifying that.
Yes, but it still doesn't get to the heart of the issue, which is that it was defunded and taken out of Article 8.
Linda, I don't disagree with that, but I don't know that if we want to recommend, well, let's just project forward. Let's say that Maria's article is defeated. Does that mean that our recommendation to reestablish a department, if we make that recommendation, is null and void?
It would have to be funded. And in order to reestablish their previous incarnation, let's put it that way, it would have to be funded. And if it's not an article, and I don't care what she's doing with her article, if they do not have a line item to fund that department in Article 8, it ain't going to get funded. It's going to continue on as it is right now with nothing. No
Right.
responsibilities, no staff, no nothing. And it's
But you
that
can appoint,
part of it that's missing.
a whole bunch of assistant town managers and take the money that should be in Park and Rec to do that.
Run that
Right,
back
it's-
again?
You know, we've got all these new executives in the town hierarchy, but Park and Rec should have a director, and it should go back to the way it was with Jimmy Manchester, and someone run the damn thing.
Yes, and that's where it got into trouble, is because they took the money away from it, and that's it. So
And they
basically,
put it
Parks
into
and Rec,
other things that they want in their administrative power structure.
well, basically also Parks and Rec has become a paper tiger, because not even the DPW consults them about stuff that the CPC gave to Parks and Rec, not DPW. So there's a whole problem here with the funding issues.
So my sense on this is that Linda absolutely hit the nail on the head on this one. There are problems in this one. There are enormous problems. And I guess my question is, how much do we get into it? I mean, other than saying, because certainly we're not the only entity looking at this. There are citizens, there are departments within the town. I would not be shocked, truly, if town council was looking at this as well under perhaps sort of a different focus. So I guess my question for the committee is, we know that other people are looking at this too. Do we want to, again, sort of simply identify that there are issues, or are we going to try to make a recommendation knowing that there are multiple moving pieces?
We'll keep it in the agenda so that they don't drop it, and let's find out what's going on. Let's ask them to tell us what they're doing.
Rick?
I don't mind leaving this comment in. I'm just saying, I don't think I mean, what it says in effect is the Town Government Study Committee continues to wait from or meet with Lauren. Now that's fine. And so we're not going to do a damn thing until we hear from town meeting or Lauren, I guess.
So let's hear from them.
Let's not hold our breath, but okay. All right.
So, John,
Yes, Tucker.
yeah, so I just think that we ought to soften or more professionally refer to Lauren in here, like
Yeah.
not in
Agreed.
quotes.
Oh yeah, this whole paragraph needs to be remastered. I mean, completely.
Yeah,
Agreed. I mean,
Yeah,
we get,
town council.
John, you and I, John, can go back and forth on this paragraph between the two of us if you want.
I think we're all right on that one. That
Okay.
yeah, we just need to sort of tighten it up just in terms of punctuation, grammar, etc. But yeah, I think
Yeah, syntax has got a problem.
exactly.
And talk about town council, not Lauren as a
Yep.
person.
yeah,
Yes,
correct.
Agreed.
yes.
Absolutely. Okay, so that
Here's the
takes.
sticky wicket.
Then we have the town ombudsman. I am sort of okay with that one as it is, but if anyone else wants to chime in or
John,
say,
I was
don't-
adding a sentence. I think I suggested a sentence to be added.
yes. Well, was this on the town ombudsman or was this on the airport?
No, the airport's a different matter. The ombudsman, I thought we wanted to have at least available to us, or be clear that we sent a letter. Let me find my email to you.
Let's see. Yes. That the Town Government Study Committee votes to communicate this recommendation and send a letter to the town moderator and town manager.
Yeah, and the letter was dated and was
Blank
sent.
and
And
sent.
that's an actual activity we did.
Yep.
And I
Sure.
think we should, be proud of it. It's an action.
Goody for us.
A couple of actions here.
We'll take what victories we can. Okay. Okay, we'll add that. Any other comments on that one?
No.
Otherwise, let's see. Then I think,
I've
All
got
right.
blank here.
Then I've got the airport statute as an enterprise fund.
Yeah, John, I volunteered to talk to Rafter, which I did.
Yes.
And the article at town meeting was passed, and a home rule petition has been submitted via our legislators to the state to delegate authority. Remember the article? It delegates authority to the select board to approve capital projects of any size and so on for the airport.
Okay.
Okay, so that's happened. It's
They didn't
underway.
create an enterprise account. They just basically gave the power to supersede town meeting to do stuff that they need to do on a timely basis. Is that correct?
That's correct, Linda. That's correct. I didn't say anything about an enterprise fund.
I think
Okay.
that may have been. I think that might have been my creative wording on that one. So we'll make sure we'll make sure to revise that.
At the moment, also Tom mentioned, just for your information, that he has been able to secure virtually 100% of the capital projects that he wanted through the CARES Act.
Yes.
Wow.
And at the moment, he's very happy with his money position. So he's not in extremis, except for paying for the water stuff.
Yeah,
Mm,
about
right.
that.
That's a
Right.
different problem.
That's
Yeah.
yes. Well
The
said.
town is going to have to go in on that bullet and with him.
Yeesh.
Well, at the moment, he thinks he's paying to lay the.
So quickly getting back to the home rule petition, is it possible to get a copy of that?
Should be through the clerk. I mean,
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I figure we attach that as well to this as another one of the addendums, that this was the warrant article that passed, and here's the home rule petition.
Sure.
Good.
Because that's going to have to change in the charter.
Right.
Linda, what was that?
I believe the language relative to the airport commission in the charter is going to have to change because it's listed the other enterprise accounts. But they didn't really get an enterprise account, did they?
They already have an enterprise account, and they didn't need a new one. I don't know if this involves a charter change, but we'll get a copy and read it. I'll volunteer to ask the town clerk for a copy.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, so that's, believe it or not, that I think is it for the memo review. So we've got some revisions to make, but not too many. I mean, maybe 3 or 4 paragraphs. Should be
You and I
easy
work
enough
on the
to do.
Parks and Rec one.
Yep, and I'll work on number 1, and I'll look through the minutes to see what else we need to add in terms of text to addendum and the government study committee language.
Okay.
And then I think the next plan is that we would send everybody hopefully a final memo.
Call a meeting.
Yeah, call a meeting, get everyone to bless it. Hopefully, have a 20-minute meeting, and have that be what we're going to do for the select board. After this meeting, I will reach out. My first reach out will be out to Erica and Libby to see what the select board schedule is in September. Because I think they're meeting on the 30th. So, I mean, I think we've got a couple meetings. But in the meantime, I would say maybe we shoot for our next meeting being 2 weeks from now to have everything blessed, because that would give us time to get that to the select board and, in advance of their packet going out.
Okay.
I can get you a conference room socially distanced at St. Paul's if we can get permission to meet in person.
I will ask that as well. All All right, so that would mean that our meeting would be.
Except that it's not filmed. That's why they're doing it this way.
Well, we could do it in the meeting room at 2 fairgrounds, and everyone sit around and just have John sit up at the front, and that can be filmed.
There we go. I'll see what creative solutions they may have for us. All right, so that would mean that our next our next meeting would be the 16th at 10 a.m. Does that still work for everyone?
Let me look.
Roughly.
Yeah, should work.
Okay. And I did take this out of order, but is there any other business? Okay.
No.
All right, so in terms of next steps for me, I am going to email Erica, Libby. I'm going to email, or Linda, you reach out to Dawn first, I guess.
Yep.
And we'll work on the revisions to this final memo, circulate it, and hopefully our meeting on the 16th will be super, super short, and hopefully we can even do it in person somehow. But again, I wouldn't hold my breath on that either. Okay, so if there is no other business and we've tackled everything on the agenda, may I please have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
made and seconded, and let's just do the roll call vote. Curtis Barnes,
Aye.
Rick Atherton,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Tucker Holland,
Aye.
and the chair, John Brescher, votes aye as well. All right, everyone, thank you very much. If anything changes in the meantime, I'll let you know, but I have us down for 9/16 at 10 a.m. Virtually, unless we can figure out a way otherwise.
One other thing, are you
Yes.
going to get Campbell, you're going to put Campbell in the loop and bring her up to speed somehow on what we're
Yep.
doing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's recorded,
Let's get her
so-
at the meeting next week.
It's recorded, so she can always look at the recording.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you.
Amen.
Thanks, John.
Be well, stay safe, all that. All right.
And I have to prepare for a second Zoom meeting today. I am not thrilled.
Good luck.